Hi friends! This week is Halloween and boy do I have a fright for you because this week we are going to be learning about how to form and use regular and irregular verbs and how to form the past tense out of those. And we're going to be specifically focusing on the simple past tense, which focuses on the suffix ed. And so before we jump into our material, we first have to know what a regular and irregular verb are. And so we're going to talk about the definitions of those two things. And so a regular verb is formed by the past tense and the past participle being formed with ed, whereas an irregular verb is a verb that forms their past tense and their past participle by using a different pattern, such as go is to went, as run is to ran. And so we're not using ed in irregular verbs for their past tense. And so we're going to look at some examples of what these are before looking at how to form the past tense of them. And so I have my whiteboard right here. And so we're going to be looking at regular and irregular verbs, and we're going to be trying to think of and form some of those words without a suffix added onto those. And so first of all, I am going to give you the first example, and then I want you to think of an example for me. So I'm thinking of the word hand. And I know that the word hand is a regular verb because I know that I can add ed to it, to its past tense and past participle, and it makes sense. I can say handed. Now you chose a word, and you chose the word, let's see what you chose. You chose the word laugh, and so we're going to write laugh down. We know that laugh is a regular verb because, again, it's past tense and past participle are formed using the word ed, and so we say laughed. Now we're moving on to the more tricky one that a lot of people who don't speak English even have trouble with. And so this is one that you have to be really careful with when you're working with. And so for this one, we are going to look at the word eat. Now, if you say I eated something, does that really make sense? For me, I always look at this as, does it make sense? Would I use this in common grammar or common talk with my friends every day? And if I said, I eated soup, does that make sense? No. So that's why I know that this is an irregular verb. Next, I'm going to use the word do. Again, if I said, I doed that today, that doesn't make sense. I would say, I did that today, and that would be the past tense of that word. And so to get more comfortable with working with these and forming the past tense, we're going to do a little activity with my witch's brew. And since it's Halloween, we're going to do a fun activity with some Legos. And so I'm going to stir up my pot, and then I'm going to grab out a regular verb, which is crawl, and I am going to connect it to its past tense by adding the word ed to the end, the suffix ed, and so this makes sense. Next, I'm going to grab an irregular brick. We know that if you said fly, it would be an irregular verb. So we know that the past tense of this irregular verb would be flew. And so we're going to connect these. And so this is a really good way to get practice while also having fun with your students. And so I hope that you guys have a great Halloween, and I hope that you learned a little bit about the spookiness of past tenses.